Hey friends, it's me, David. It's your host, New Season, New Me. This is episode 5 with my dear friends, Pastor Mina and his wife. In this interview, it's going to be my first time interviewing my favorite couples. Great example that they're teaching us, mentors for everyone. I'm actually honored, blessed to interview them. So, Pastor Mina and Nancy, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
Thank you to be part of my show of episode 5. So before the interview, we're gonna be doing we're gonna play a game with you guys. Okay.
Good.
All right. You guys ready?
Okay.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So the first question is
For her or for me?
for you, Nancy.
Okay.
What day is your husband born? So when is his birthday?
It's January 6, 1955.
Okay. And Pastor Mina, do you know your wife's
It's
birthday?
August 8. No, August 8.
Okay.
I
all
don't tell the year.
right.
I don't think you know the year.
Okay.
August the 8th.
Okay. Second question is, what's your wife's favorite restaurant?
Red Lobster.
Okay.
I
And,
think she loves that restaurant, according to my understanding.
and your husband's favorite restaurant?
I think he doesn't have any favorite restaurant because it's for him it's very difficult to go out to eat for her diet.
Okay.
His diet.
Okay. Okay. One of the last questions for you guys is, how many daughters you have?
2.
2.
I think so. She knows. She knows.
She knows more. Okay, so I want to say congratulations. 37 years, 38 this year.
Almost 38.
Almost 38. Wow, that's actually a bless to be with your wife. So 38 years with the same mother-in-law, right?
Yes. I'm still living.
Still living. Okay, so let's crack the interview. So one of the questions I want to ask you guys is, you want to start first? Obviously, the lady starts first. Explain your love story. How did you guys met?
In short words, maybe I met my husband in a small town in Colombia where we are from, in a youth retreat.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah, I remember that. It was many years ago.
Mhm.
We were very young,
Mhm.
and we were having a youth retreat. It was a weekend youth retreat.
Mhm.
I think I was leading that retreat, and that beautiful girl appeared. She was the cousin of one of my friends who used to work with me, planning and running that retreat. But he never told me about his cousin.
Mhm.
And that night, she came with him. It was really nice, really wonderful night for me because we met her, and I fall in love that same night.
So take it back to that when you were young. So that was your first time meeting her. Like it was great, but like how did you guys met and whatever? But cause you were a youth retreat, right? So you
Yeah.
were leading it. But what was the first impression? Like, did he talk to you first, or did you do the first move on him?
No, when I saw him for first time, my impression wasn't good. I think that he was. I thought at that point that he was like quite selfish and yeah.
Sure.
I don't like her attitude.
You were wrong.
His attitude. I didn't like his attitude was
Okay.
so. Maybe because he was the leader, he was showing too much to the people, and I don't like people like that. And I said, no, something is wrong with this guy. I didn't like him.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so it's kind of great how you guys had your love story. How you were obviously were youth pastor in Colombia, and leading it in the retreat. Um, the second question I want to ask is, was it hard um, that now he's a pastor, senior pastor in Colombia, but was it hard for you guys to leave from Colombia to Canada? Um, I don't know for you, was it hard because was it a calling from God, or was it him who said, "Honey, I'm going to Colombia to Canada"? So, how was it with you? Like,
Uh, I think my husband had God calling from long time, but for me was different. For me wasn't easy, and of course he couldn't make a decision faster because of me. And I think he was praying hard. I don't know, but for me, one day I was working in Colombia in my career, and I was in a good position over there. And uh, for me was for never passed through my mind leave the country. But in some point, I start feeling that I want to do something different, and I feel not comfortable too much in my job. And either with my daughters, one of them wasn't convinced to leave the country, and the other one was very convinced to come here. Then, for those experience around maybe 1 year, I think God was changing my mind, and until what time I was able to leave the country and accompany him, um, being sure that for sure my husband was calling from God to work here and serving here, and that's why I made the decision finally.
and now explain to me how was that experience?
Yeah, when God called me and called us to come to Canada, we were working too hard and quite well in Colombia. I was leading a large church and everything was very good. But God has His own will. So He started to call me to leave that church. At first sight, I didn't know why or where, but after that, God let me know that it was for to Canada. So I was invited for a weekend to come to this church. He was going through a difficult time, the church. So they connected with me. They contacted, inviting me for a weekend to minister them. And in the same weekend, they invited me to consider being ex-pastor. So I felt that God was calling me. I have testimony for different ways that God was calling me. I talked to my leaders in Colombia, they agreed. So I understood perfectly that God was calling me. So I always had understood that as a pastor, as a minister, I am not in just one place that I want to be. I am a servant of God. I am ready to go where God calls me to be. So that was that happened to me almost 20 years ago. Now it's 20 years ago. First of all, we came for, our contract was for 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's been 20 years. Wow. 1999.
Looking at that, the calling that God called you guys to come here, right? I'm thinking when I was doing this interview, I was thinking of the passage Jeremiah 29, verse 11. It's saying that God has better plans for us, right? And looking at that passage, God did have a better plan for you guys, right? Um, Looking at your love story and to come here to Canada, He had a big plan for you guys. And looking at you guys now, like everybody's referring you guys as their mentors, as a couple, and great example that you guys are leading to every couples. And looking at you guys as mentors, pastors, that you guys are working as a great team. And that's what I see, right? And I think people will agree with me too, that they see that you guys are mentors for people. You guys help out other people from the church, and that's what I see too. Um, the last thing I want to ask you guys, it's not a question, is what tips, or give me 3 tips at least, um, how you guys could be successful with, faithful with your wife for the next 40, 50 years. So if you want to tell the audience what's the tips, how you guys could be more faithful with your wife and husband.
I think at the beginning of our marriage, before get married, when we went for a counseling and prepare for the marriage. One pastor gave us one advice that we never forgot and always we put in practice is Ephesians 4:26, and says that we can be angry with the other person,
Don't let the
but
sun
don't let the sun go over.
Goes down, yeah.
In
What's
English,
I don't know what that verse in English, but it says don't let the sun go down while you are still angry, something like that.
yeah, and then this is
No
one,
dejes que el sol se ponga sobre vuestro enojo.
yeah, and we promise when we get married, we promise that we put that verse in practice. And when we were mad each other, always we went at the end and forgive each other. This one advice that helped us too much. Another one is the communication. You have to be open and you have to be clear. No hide anything. Doesn't matter if it's bad or good. The other person has to know it, and always say the truth. And the third one maybe was desire the best for the other one. Doesn't matter that you have to sacrifice something by yourself, but if he is happy, I will be happy too.
Okay, so Pastor, what 3
Yeah,
tips?
yeah. The same. The first one.
Mhm.
Don't let the sun go down while you are angry. We promise each other to practice that verse from the Bible, and I think those almost 40 years we had keep our words. Not 100%, but almost 99.9%, and it has been a blessing for us. Also, I don't try to understand completely her. I try to accept her as a person, a different person. So it released me of try to get her to be like me. So I just understand that she's a different person than me. And another thing is that when I get married, I understood that I was getting married for my whole life with her. So I make I made my promise that I will be faithful to her until I die or she dies. So every time that situations happens, I remember myself that promise. I divorce is not in my plans. So I have to try hard. I have to deal every situation because I have no plans on getting divorced. I have no plans on getting.
And it's better forget and live happy because we will never we get the divorce.
Oh, okay. All right, Pastor Mina and Nancy, thank you for being in my episode 5. May God bless you guys.
Okay, thank you for having us.
And may God give you guys many more years together, faithfulness. All right, guys, just want to let you guys know episode 5 with Pastor Mina and his wife Nancy, as we actually wrapped it